Newport Public Library. Welcome to Kids in the Kitchen. Today we're going to make something called Oreo Crumb Crispies. But before we get started, remember there's a few things we need to do. Make sure your hands are washed, your work surfaces are clean, and if you have long hair, can you pull it back? Alright, let's get started. Some of the ingredients in this recipe are double stuffed Oreos, Crescent rolls, flour, brown sugar, granulated white sugar, and butter. And then we have three things for a glaze, which is powdered sugar, milk, and some butter. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crush up 6 double stuffed Oreos. So now, if you want to do this, it can be in a food processor, but if you do that, you need to do that part with an adult. But we're going to put 6 in a bag, and then I'm just going to use a canned good and just crush them. Some people might want to use a rolling pin. I just like using a can. I'm opening my double stuffed Oreos. I'm going to put them in. And I'm just using a regular quart-size bag. So help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll have lots left over. All right, I'm going to close my bag. And now I'm going to start crushing them, making fine crumbs. Just like that. We're going to put crescent rolls on our baking sheet, and then after we've mixed the flour and the sugar and the brown sugar with the crumbs, we're going to sprinkle it on top. Shake the bag. Shake the bag. All right, looks pretty good to me. You can feel if they're really crumbly or not. If you have a few big pieces, just keep going. All right, so now they're crumbs. Feel one more piece. They look good. Okay, so I'm going to pour them in a bowl. Might have to work some of the crumbs out. In fact, I'm going to use a fork a little bit and scrape it down and then pour them out again. We want to make sure we get all our crumbs. We don't want to leave anything behind. There we go. Looks good. Next, we're going to add our 1/4 cup of brown sugar, our 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1/2 cup of flour. Let's stir that together a little bit. Now we're going to add cold butter to this, and there's different ways you could add it. Some people use a pastry blender. We used that last time. Or you can use a fork, like what I'm going to just use a fork today, and that'll work just fine too. If you have any big pieces of brown sugar in there, make sure you break them up. This looks pretty good now. Now I'm going to add my butter, my cold butter, It's a 1/4 cup of butter, which is a 1/2 of a stick of butter. If you look on the side of your butter package, it'll tell you different marks, and 1/2 of 1 stick is a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to dump this in. And I just made mine in small pieces, just because I think it's easier to blend it together. So then I'm just going to use my fork. If it's easier, you might want to have a bigger bowl. It's up to you. This takes a few minutes, so don't be too impatient. You also might want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Now we're going to bake these for 8 to 12 minutes. Also, if you feel adventurous, you can just take your fingers and rub the cookie into the butter. This will work too. Just another way to mix your butter in. The fork works okay, but I almost think that using your hands works even better. You just put your fingers in and squeeze them together. This looks ready. So now we're going to open our crescent rolls. And I just have ordinary crescent rolls. And we're going to open them and we're going to put them on the cookie sheet, separating them. So we have 8 triangles. So I'm just going to open it up, just like this. And they're perforated so you can easily rip them apart. Just like this. You'll be able to see that you can do it. Oops, that one kind of ripped, but don't worry about it. You can't really do this wrong. You just want to move them around until they fit. There we go. And we're going to cut them later. So you might want to also get out a, if you choose to, a pizza cutter. That's what I'm going to use. All right. So now we're going to sprinkle our Oreo crumb mixture on them. Then we'll spread it out. To go back. And you just want to get it on there as evenly as possible. Okay, it looks good. I'm going to put this in the oven for 8 to 12 minutes, and then I'll see you back here. Okay, our Oreo Crumb Crispies are finished, so we'll let them cool. And while they're cooling, we'll make our glaze. Now our glaze consists of a half a cup of powdered sugar, a tablespoon of milk, and a tablespoon of softened butter. So, let's put our powdered sugar in a bowl. Our teaspoon of vanilla. Oops. Our milk. Or cream, you could use cream too. And I think we'll mix that first with our little bitty whisk, and then we'll add our butter. This is going to be our glaze that we drizzle over the top. You could always mix this with a spoon too. So now we'll put our butter in. See? Mixes right in. You could use your whisk again too if you wanted to. Which is what I think I'll do. Our glaze is finished. Looks nice and smooth. And our Oreo Crumb Crispies have cooled. So I'm going to cut them into smaller triangles. I'm going to use a pizza cutter just because that's easiest for me. I mean, you could leave them big if you want, but I prefer them smaller. I think they're easy to handle. All right. So now we're going to drizzle our glaze over it. I just like to use the whisk for this too. I mean, you can't do it wrong. And then we'll let the glaze just sort of set a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to serve these up. They look yummy. There we go. Don't these look good? Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy your Oreo Crumb Crispies, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.